The jeers hit me like shards of ice from the lake back home. Sharp, unrelenting, slicing through the red velvet of my Santa suit. Look at that pansy Claus. Thinks he can play jolly old saint with his rainbow agenda. Old man Hargrove bellowed from the edge of the crowd. His face twisted like he'd swallowed a lump of coal, and the laughter rippled out, a toxic wave crashing over the evergreen town square. I froze there on the wooden stage, beard half-slipping, my heart pounding so hard I swore the reindeer on the rooftop speakers could hear it, wondering if this was how it ended. Not with a ho-ho-ho, but with the whole damn town stripping me bare before I'd even handed out the first candy cane. But then, cutting through the venom like a single lantern in a blizzard, a small voice piped up from the front row. Santa's real, and he's the best one yet. It was a kid, no more than 10, with messy brown hair and eyes that held the weight of winter's past, pushing through the legs of skeptical adults like he was parting the Red Sea. He grabbed my hand, tiny fingers warm against the cold faux fur, and in that moment, as the crowd's chuckles faltered, I knew this boy, troubled, fierce, unnamed yet, had just handed me the only gift that mattered. A fighting chance to believe in something kinder than the cruelty I'd run from. That night in Evergreen, Ohio, our sleepy speck of a town tucked between cornfields and forgotten highways, where the biggest excitement was the annual Christmas parade and the bitter wind off Lake Erie. I wasn't just playing dress up. I was Braden Hayes, 32 and fresh off a one-way bus from New York City, chasing ghosts and grudges back to the place that had spit me out a decade ago. Mom had passed that fall, her hospice bed overlooking the same frost-laced windows where she'd taught me to hang tinsel and whisper wishes to the stars. "Spread the joy, Bray," she'd say, her voice a rasp against the chemo haze, "even if they don't deserve it." So here I was, volunteering for the Santa gig at the town hall's holiday fair, figuring if I could make one kid smile, it'd honor her memory without dredging up mine. The suit hung heavy on my frame, too big for my runner's build, the padding bunching like regrets under my arms. I'd arrived 2 weeks earlier, crashing in the family bungalow on Maple Street, its creaky floors echoing with the silence of absence. Dad had bailed years back, chasing tailpipes and cheap motels after Mom's diagnosis confirmed what he'd always suspected. Our little family was too soft for his steel mill grit. I'd built a life in the city, waitering at a Hell's Kitchen diner by day, chasing additions by night, falling in and out of beds with men who promised forever but delivered goodbyes. But Evergreen? It was the scar that never quite faded. The whispers in high school hallways after Tommy Whitaker caught me kissing his cousin behind the bleachers. The way Pastor Ellis thundered from the pulpit about Sodom's shadow creeping into our pews. I adjusted the white trim on my cuffs as I lumbered toward the stage, the air thick with mulled cider and unspoken judgments. The square was a postcard of Americana. Garland-draped lampposts, a towering spruce shipped in from who knows where, kids in puffy jackets queuing for photos while their parents sipped spiked hot chocolate from styrofoam cups. Mrs. Delaney, the event coordinator with her perpetual perm and passive-aggressive smile, had cornered me in the changing room earlier. "Braden, honey, we're so grateful you're stepping up after Mr. Wilkins' hip gave out. Just keep it wholesome, all right? Folks here are traditional." Her eyes flicked to the rainbow pin I'd forgotten to tuck away on my lapel, and I swallowed the retort bubbling up. "Wholesome like the sun you pretend isn't yours." As I settled into the oversized throne, waving to the first wave of toddlers, a familiar figure caught my eye weaving through the crowd. Roman Caldwell, God, Roman. Tall as ever, with that mop of dark curls tamed into submission and a jawline that could cut glass. He looked every bit the high school history teacher he'd become. We'd been thick as thieves growing up, sharing comic books under the bleachers and secrets in the back of his dad's pickup, until that summer before college when things shifted. A brush of hands during a late-night bonfire. A kiss stolen in the rain that tasted like possibility and pine. But Roman had pulled back, eyes shadowed with the weight of his preacher father's expectations. "It's not the right time, Bray," he'd murmured, and I'd left for the city the next week, nursing a heartbreak wrapped in denial. Now, here he was, clapping politely from the sidelines, his smile tentative but real. Our eyes locked, and for a split second, the square faded, the jeers unborn, the cold held at bay. He mouthed, "You got this," and I nodded, forcing a belly laugh that echoed hollowly over the speakers. The line moved. A pig-tailed girl asking for a pony, a freckled boy for a new bike. I ho-ho-hoed through the motions, my voice cracking only once when a dad muttered under his breath about, "That city's ruining our boys." Then came the boy. He slunk up last, after the crowd had thinned to stragglers nursing frostbite and grudges. No parent in sight, just him in a coat 2 sizes too big, threadbare at the cuffs, his sneakers duct-taped at the toes. His name, I learned later, was Eli Thompson, the kid from the trailer park on the edge of town, whose mom worked doubles at the diner and whose dad was a ghost story whispered in barstools. He climbed into my lap without hesitation, like he belonged there, and fixed me with those eyes. Stormy gray, holding tempests no child should weather. "Hi, Santa," he said, voice steady but small. "I know you're real. My mom says you're not, but she's tired all the time, so maybe she forgot." I leaned in, the beard brushing his cheek, and something in me cracked. A fissure letting in light I'd long boarded up. "What's your name, kiddo? And what's the one thing you'd ask for this year?" He glanced over his shoulder, as if checking for eavesdroppers, then whispered, "Eli, and I don't want toys. I want people to stop being mean, like to you, and to kids like me who don't fit." His words hung there, heavier than the snowflakes starting to drift down, and I felt the weight of them settle in my chest. How did he know? Had he heard the murmurs, seen the sidelong glances? In that instant, with Roman watching from afar and the town square humming with half-hearted cheer, Eli became my anchor, the boy who saw through the suit to the man aching underneath. We talked for what felt like hours, though the clock on the town hall chimed only 10 minutes past. Eli spun tales of schoolyard taunts, of being the weird one, who preferred drawing superheroes over playing football, of watching his mom cry into her coffee over bills and broken dreams. "But you're brave, Santa," he said, poking the padding on my belly. "Even when they laugh. That's what Christmas is, right? Being brave for the ones who need it." I nodded, throat tight, promising him a sleigh full of kindness he'd never asked for but desperately deserved. As he slid down, slipping a crumpled drawing into my gloved hand, a Santa with a rainbow cape soaring over evergreen, he grinned, fierce and fleeting. "See you next year. Don't let 'em win." I watched him vanish into the night, a shadow among shadows, and for the first time since Mom's funeral, hope flickered. Not the hallmark kind, but the gritty, get-your-hands-dirty variety. Roman approached then, hands in his pockets, breath fogging the air. "That was something, Bray. You always did have a way with the lost causes." His voice was low, laced with that old warmth, and I searched his face for the boy I'd loved, finding echoes in the crinkles at his eyes. "Yeah, well, lost causes are my specialty," I replied, tugging at the beard. "Fancy a walk? This suit's killing me." We fell into step along the snow-dusted path toward the lake, the fair's lights fading behind us. Conversation flowed easy at first. Updates on his divorce from the suitable girl his dad approved of, my string of city flings that never stuck. But under it all simmered the unspoken. That kiss, the years apart, the what-ifs piling up like drifts. "You came back," he said finally, stopping by the frozen pier where we'd skipped stones as kids. "After everything. Why?" I shrugged, staring at the ice-cracked surface. "Mom, and maybe unfinished business." My eyes met his, and there it was, the spark, dangerous and alive. He stepped closer, gloved hand brushing mine, and for a heartbeat, Evergreen felt less like a cage and more like home. But home has teeth. The next morning, as I shoveled the bungalow's walk, Hargrove's truck rumbled by, horn blaring. A newspaper fluttered from the passenger seat onto my driveway. The local rag, Evergreen Echo, splashed with a grainy photo from the fair. Me on stage, rainbow pin glinting, caption Santa's secret. "Is our holiday hero ho-ho homosexuality?" My stomach dropped. Who'd snapped it? Who'd sold the story? The byline blurred in my vision, but the damage was done. Phones started buzzing, neighbors' curtains twitching. By noon, Roman showed up at my door, face pale under his beanie. "Bray, it's everywhere. Town hall's getting calls. Delaney wants you to step down." He pulled me into a hug, fierce and fleeting, his cologne, same as always, pine and possibility, grounding me. "But screw him. We'll fight this." Fight? In Evergreen, fighting meant surviving. That afternoon, we holed up in the kitchen. Mom's old recipe book open to gingerbread men we'd never bake. Roman's stories poured out. His closet years, the marriage that crumbled under pretense, the quiet coming out to his sister last year. I was a coward back then, he admitted, tracing patterns in the flour dust. Let you go because I couldn't face Dad. But seeing you up there last night, you make me want to be braver. Our hands intertwined across the table, and I leaned in, foreheads touching. Then let's be brave together. The kiss that followed was soft, tentative, a reclaiming, not a conquest. No fire, just embers reigniting, warm against the winter chill seeping through the panes. But betrayal brews in the quiet hours. That evening, as we planned a counter-event, a kindness carol sing-along to reclaim the square, my phone lit up with a text from Tommy Whitaker, high school tormentor turned auto shop owner. Heard you're stirring shit. Stay in your lane, Fairy, or Eli's next. My blood ran cold. Amy. How did he know about the boy? Roman saw my face drain. What is it? I showed him and his jaw tightened. Tommy's always been Hargrove's lapdog. This is them pushing back. We drove to the trailer park under cover of dusk, the radio humming carols that mocked our mission. Eli's mom, Lena, answered the door in scrubs, exhaustion etched deep. He's been asking for you, Santa, she said, letting us in. The trailer was a testament to tenacity. Patched walls, a tiny tree strung with popcorn, Eli cross-legged on the floor sketching more heroes. He lit up at the sight of us, but sobered quick. They said mean things at school today. About you. Said you're not real. Roman knelt, ruffling his hair. But you know better, right? Real's not about perfect. It's about showing up. Eli nodded, handing me a new drawing. Santa and an elf, Roman, unmistakably, standing tall against a storm of snowmen with frowning faces. For your fight, he said. We left with promises of hot cocoa runs and homework help, but the threat lingered like exhaust fumes. The days blurred into a frenzy of flyers and whispers. Roman and I stole moments. Walks by the lake, hands brushing in the cold, building something fragile but fierce. He confessed over coffee one dawn. I never stopped loving you, Bray, just buried it. And I, voice cracking, admitted the city had been escape, not salvation. We were mending thread by thread when the axe fell. It was Hargrove himself who delivered it, cornering me outside the diner 2 nights before Christmas Eve. Hayes, you're poisoning this town, he growled, spittle flecking his whiskers. That boy's already twisted. Mother's a drunk, father's gone, and now you're his role model? Resign, or I'll make sure every parent knows what filth you're peddling. Behind him, Tommy smirked, arms crossed. Betrayal hit harder than the words. Tommy, who'd been Roman's groomsman at that sham wedding, now weaponizing Eli's pain. I stumbled home, gut churning, and found Roman waiting, eyes red-rimmed. He told me, Roman said, voice hollow. Tommy, said Hargrove pressured him, but he agreed. For the shop's loan. The room spun. Roman's best friend, turning coat for a signature. I'm sorry, Bray. I vouched for him. We argued then, not with shouts but silences sharp as icicles. Accusations unspoken, trust fracturing. You always protect them, I whispered finally. The ones who hurt us. What about us? He reached for me, but I pulled back, the distance yawning like the lake in thaw. Christmas Eve dawned brittle, the square dusted in fresh powder. Our kindness carol flyers trampled underfoot. Delaney had caved, canceling my Santa slot. The stage stood empty, a throne draped in black bunting like a funeral. Roman and I hadn't spoken since the fight, our texts unanswered, the air between us thick with regret. I wandered the streets alone, hood up against the wind, past houses aglow with lights that felt like taunts. Evergreen was unraveling. Shop windows boarded after Hargrove's boycott calls, kids like Eli caught in the crossfire. Then, as sleet began to spit, I spotted him. Eli, backpack slung low, trudging toward the square with purpose. No coat, just that duct-taped resolve. Panic surged. Tommy's threat echoed. I jogged after, calling his name. Eli. Wait up, kid. He turned, cheeks flushed, clutching a rolled poster. Santa. I knew you'd come. His grin was defiant, but his shivers betrayed him. I shrugged off my jacket, draping it over his shoulders. "What's the plan, hero? You look like you're on a mission. Town needs to see," he said, unrolling the paper. A collage of his drawings, Santa and Elf arm in arm, captioned "Kindness doesn't care who you love." Mom helped, said if they won't listen, we show 'em. My throat closed. This boy, with his patched world and boundless heart, was leading the charge I couldn't. Word must have spread like wildfire on dry tinder. By the time we reached the square, a crowd had gathered. Not the jeering mob, but a motley mix. Lena, arms crossed but eyes fierce. Mrs. Delaney, wringing her hands. Even a few high schoolers with protest signs scavenged from the garage. Roman was there too, at the edge, face shadowed, holding Eli's coat like a white flag. Hargrove pushed through, Tommy at his heel, faces thunderous. "This is blasphemy. Clear out, or I'll call the sheriff." The old man roared, but his voice cracked, the crowd murmuring dissent. Eli clambered onto the stage, my old throne now a pedestal, unfurling his poster high. "Santa's real," he shouted, voice carrying clear over the sleet. "And he's kind. He listened when no one else did. He gave me hope when school said I was weird. If you mock him, you mock Christmas. You mock me." Silence fell, heavy as the snow piling on shoulders. Hargrove opened his mouth, but Eli wasn't done. "My dad's gone 'cause he was mean like you, drinking and yelling. But Santa, he fights for the little guys. Like Braden." He pointed at me, and the crowd shifted, eyes turning. Whispers rippled. "Braden? The Hayes boy?" Roman stepped forward then, climbing to join Eli, his hand steady on the boy's shoulder. "Eli's right," he said, voice steady, eyes locking on mine across the divide. "I was scared once. Scared to stand with the man I love because of folks like you, Hargrove. But this kid, he shames us all into better." The admission hung there, raw and revolutionary, and I felt the fracture in my chest mend. Just a little. Tommy shifted, uncomfortable, mumbling something about loans and regrets. Hargrove's bluster deflated, his shoulders slumping under the weight of eyes no longer averted. One by one, hands clapped, not thunderous, but insistent, a tide turning. Lena pulled Eli down, hugging him fierce, tears carving tracks in the sleet on her face. "That's my boy," she whispered. As the crowd dispersed into shared cocoa and tentative carols, Roman found me by the tree, its lights haloing us soft. "I'm sorry," he said, voice thick. "For Tommy, for before, but mostly for not fighting sooner." I cupped his face, thumbs brushing away melt. "You fought today. That's enough." Our kiss was salt and snow, a vow unspoken, the town square witness to something human at last, flawed, fierce, forgiven. Eli bounded over, poster clutched like a shield. "Did we win, Santa?" I knelt, pulling him and Roman close. "Yeah, kid, we won." Evergreen wasn't remade overnight, no miracles, just mending. Hargrove grumbled but donated wreaths the next week. Tommy fixed Lena's car gratis, avoiding my gaze. Roman and I took it slow. Dinners by the fire, walks where hands stayed linked, building a life from the bones of what was. Months later, spring thawed the lake, and Eli's drawings hung in the town library, an exhibit called Heroes Among Us. He visits still, taller now, sketching futures brighter than his past. And me, I'm still here, teaching drama at the high school, Roman beside me in the wings. We didn't save the world, but in that square, under sleet and stars, a boy reminded us, kindness isn't belief, it's action. And in Evergreen, that's the real magic.